Hey, everybody, it's Chris Shubert from CNSG back for another edition of The Zoom, where we zoom in on thought leaders in the channel today. I have a unique guest today from one of our hottest up-and-coming carriers in the CNSG portfolio. From Call One, I'd like everyone to welcome Mr. John Mclain. How are you, John?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Chris.
Now, John, normally I would make jokes that are in reference to Die Hard, but you actually appear to be coming to us from the Batcave today. Is that correct?
That is correct. Bruce Willis has to have a hideout, has to have a base of operations, and so this is ours. This is mine. So, yeah, yippee-ki-yay.
So even though you may be coming from the pit of darkness, we're going to shine a very, very bright light on Call One. So John, for folks that may not be familiar with you personally, tell us a little bit about your story and, of course, what fires you up about working at Call One.
Yeah, excellent. So my story, I've been in the industry since I was 19. But the story goes, I know, believe that or not, and I'm just 26 this year, so we're really pumped about the ramp up. But anyhow,
okay, so we now know how honest you are on a call. Let's move on.
Yeah, well, we got to get that. Yeah, a thought later. Anyway, that is a thought. So, but it really, interestingly enough, it begins in Jacksonville at Bell South in the cafeteria at Bell South. My father was a engineer, fiber engineer there, Southern Bell at the time. And my mother actually worked at AT&T as an operator, switchboard operator, plugging calls in. And so they met in the lunchroom. So literally, I owe my existence to the telecom space. So I guess I was engineered to do this. I had no rock.
Well, not very many people could say that. That's a heck of a story. So tell us a little bit more about your background beyond your genetic telecomness and about Call One.
Yeah, excellent, man. So outside of being hard-coded to be in the industry, I got my start when I was 19 years old. I was basically snuck under the radar at a CLEC called BTI, who was out of Raleigh, North Carolina, before it was Windstream or ITC Deltacom or Earthlink or anything else. It was just BTI, a great little CLEC. And my brother, I graduated high school. My brother said, "Hey, what are you going to do with your life?" I'm like, "I don't know, maybe go to college or something." He said, "Yeah, you're not smart enough for that. What do I need to do is get you in a sales job." And I got an opportunity to sneak you in over here. The rules are you can't tell anybody how old you are. Whatever your sales manager says, do it. And if any, just don't talk to anybody, basically. I'm like, okay, because they're going to know you don't belong there. And so, and I said, well, what if I fail? He said, yeah, you probably are going to fail because you're young, but you're young enough to fail. So long story short, I did exactly what he said. I had relentless hours of role play with my manager, and they were brutal. And but at the end of the day, man, I was forged and fashioned in a boiler room call environment, and I had a lot of success. When I in my 20s, I made it a year somehow, and in my 20s, I wrote a deal for this account called Total Sports. It was like $65K. In monthly revenue. It was like the largest deal the company had done. And I just fell into it basically, and it was, it just started a track for me, man. And I've been in telecom ever since. I moved, and that was as a direct rep. So I carried a bag for a couple of years and then moved into, the partner program about 3 years later, joined the dark side, so to speak. And it's been my whole career. It's been my whole life, and I love it.
Awesome. Lots to unpack there. I mean, obviously, everyone goes to the dark side eventually. It's not only the best compensation, but the best cookies. Don't ever forget that. And you mentioned, you name dropped a bunch of legacy names, Deltacom, BTI, folks that carried a very proud tradition of being the first major CLECs, the first folks to come out there and truly compete against the big boys out there. Now you find yourself at Call One, the company that within the channel, although it's definitely been around for a while, within the channel is still fairly new, but has made a big splash in the last 2 years. Tell us a little bit about what Call One is today and why you came to work there.
Great question. So from a company perspective, one of the things to think about without getting too salesy is the fact that there's longevity here. The company has been around for 27 years. And that's news to a lot of people. So 27 years. I think a couple other unique factoids are the original founder is still the owner today, Craig Foster. Our CEO has been with us for 20 years. You just don't see that on the ticker tape very often anymore. We are a privately held organization, and we're able to grow at the right rate and make strategic decisions, and not so much being beholden to a group of VCs or something of that nature. We're just able to kind of dictate where we want to win, how we want to grow it smart. About 70 million in annual revenue, and roughly about 150 employees, give or take. So, I find that there's a really unique space where before a company is necessarily well known, they're right in that 60, 70, 80 million dollar mark, and they haven't made their big growth push yet. And you run that, there's a special place from around that revenue zone to maybe 250, 350 million. There's some really special things happen right there. That's really where US Lec, to throw out another legacy name, really carved something out, right? And I don't know if you competed against them back in the day, but it was pretty much well known that, they weren't the cheapest guys out there. They were very competitive, but they weren't the cheapest guys out there. But man, it was such a classy product, and it was basically a known quantity. You signed up there, you're getting your circuit in 30 days or 45 days, and the service is excellent. And there was just a service model there that was driving the business. And in my heart, I've been hungry to see something like that again, which is basically a service vision that's driving everything else. I mean, you have to have competitive pricing, or you never get a look at the basket. Right. So it's got to be competitive. You have to have the right product mix. But like that customer service side of the coin, to me, is a place it's underserved in our space, especially in the all-in-one, as you guys call it, all-in-one territory. And I looked up all-in-one, and one of the synonyms was leotard. So I'm like, well, that's not the kind of that's not what I was really looking for. But
I'm going to remember that on our heavy hitter show when we're talking SD-WAN pure plays versus all-in-ones. I may have to refer to you guys as the leotard. Yeah.
Yes. Please use that. And so anyway, Chris, I was hungry in my heart of hearts to find an opportunity that wasn't, it wasn't the household name, right? I've worked for the household names, and there's some benefit to that. But for me in my career, I've had a successful career, and I'm thankful for that. I've worked for some amazing people, learned a lot. Made plenty of mistakes, and I'm still in the process, but there was something in my heart that was like, I want to go somewhere where I'm proud to wear the shirt. And I'm also, I'm given a seat at the table when it comes to shaping product, when it comes to process, when it comes to, hey, you've done this for a long time. What's some thoughts that you have? What are you seeing from your partners? What are you hearing from them? Outside of just, bringing in a revenue number, because at a certain point, you've got the relationships, that's going to happen. And so for me, that's one of the things that drew me to the company. And you asked a question earlier, which was like, why call one for you? And I can answer that because kind of what I just said. I was looking for something that was more than just like, I don't need a job. I have a job. I can call plenty of folks in the business and get a job. So I really was looking for something that was a different track, and I wanted to be a part of the management team that made the splash, right? Not the one that you attract a certain amount of folks once you're already growth on the rocket ship and you're flying high. It takes a different cut to be at that ground level and really get the momentum going. So I've been pushing hard. Gabe has been pushing hard. Kevin's been pushing hard. A lot of the other leaders, we've been pushing hard to get this momentum, this ball rolling, right? To get this inertia going. And what we're seeing is it's absolutely rolling, right? And it's taken a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears, but we're seeing it. We're one of the fastest growing carriers, as you mentioned, and we're proud of that fact. But when I flew to Chicago to see the shop, I really went there just to stick my finger right in the eye of something. Like, I knew it was, it's too good to be true that, I've went places with, rose-colored glasses before and been like, oh, it's going to be great. They're going to do hosted. I'm sure they're going to be great at it. What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Right. And I'm also an OG when it comes to selling UCaaS. I mean, I've been doing it for 12 years now. I mean, I've been selling UCaaS for a long time. And it's been exciting. It's been, it used to be that if you were the only one that could make a call work, you were in a class by yourself. If you could plug in a phone at a customer site, there was a real time where if you could bring your phone into a customer's environment, plug into their LAN, and get dial tone, it literally won you business, because there was a lot of other yahoos that just couldn't make it work. And then we watched things move, right? And we watched people up their game, right? And then, we can do video calling. Oh, right. We would sell a ton of hosted off video calling, but guess what? No one ever used video calling. It was like,
until now,
but no one ever. Right. Look at us go. And now we're not doing it through our Polycom though. We're doing it, through soft phone. And so that being said, like there was a desire in me that wanted to be a part of something to grow it, not just to sound cliche, but I also, I got connected with Kevin Weber and Gabe, and heard great things about these guys, did my due diligence, checked in, and I was like, let me just see what this thing's really like. So I get up to corporate, and I'm ready to just destroy it, because I know it's too good to be true. And they bring in the project manager that's over the director, and she comes in and she starts just spieling off stuff, and I got a checklist because I've already done this before. I'm going through the checklist, and about after 15 minutes, I'm like, we're good. No, well, we have 2 hours slated. I'm like, no, we're good. You can go. We're good. I understand. Next person came, Pat Heron, who you're going to be getting the joy to hang with. He's a great guy. And just listening to the vision, he's done it before, and there was just an expertise, longevity factor there. There was a culture, and it was something I could buy into, man. And I got to tell you, and I'm happy to say this, in how many years is that? 22 years in telecom. This is the best place I've ever been. And that's just the brass tacks.
Good stuff. And I appreciate the passion, looking at, if you're a partner looking at this or hearing this for the first time, and you're looking at Call One, you're saying, well, here's another carrier that does UCaaS, that does SD-WAN, that does managed services, that does aggregation. We have a carrier that has taken the legacy of those original CLACs and those original aggregators and truly created a competitive all-in-one. But before we kind of get into the products and what you do better than anybody else, the one thing I want to stress for the CNSG and AppSmart community is the strength of the relationship we have with these individuals. I personally have worked with Kevin Weber and Gabe Rosales and Pat Heron. John and I have known each other for quite a while. We know how to get things done. And that's very important when you're dealing with an all-in-one carrier, because all-in-ones touch so many things. It's not just that pure play SD-WAN, that pure play UCaaS. It's someone that has to have a great experience on all sides. And that's one of the reasons we welcomed Call One into our program in 2020, because we knew that they had a good pedigree and they had a good group of people behind them. But beyond that, we touched in very basic terms the product lines: UCaaS, SD-WAN, aggregation, managed services, all together, all a la carte. So basically, guys, we checked all the boxes for a good all-in-one carrier. But John, from your perspective, what do you dominate in? What do you do better than anybody else out there?
Yeah. So I think, and again, I could answer this two ways, kind of. Like the first to me would be, the first is probably from a product perspective, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like I got to answer it from that angle, but then I have another angle to give, but I won't, again, overly productize this call. So, one of the things that we do really well is grow the business. And so everybody would like, there's a subset of us that all want the all-in-one play, right? And we love it when they buy everything on the truck. What I have found is that you don't get those opportunities every day for a customer that says, man, I'm out of contract on my voice. I'm out of contract on my data. My firewalls suck. And I hate this Cisco call manager. Will you please come and rescue me? And we love, if that opportunity comes once or twice a year, we love to fly in and do it. But one of the things that I found that we've done really well with is to grow by what's available and grow on demand with our customers. And that's really how we started, 27 years ago, was switchless LD resell. And we did that until customer demand drove us into offering another product. And we did those two products until customer demand drove us into the next. And that's kind of our pedigree. That's kind of our background. So we love the shot to get our foot in the door. Now, do we do single sites? Yes, we do. And we win in that space. But what we love to see is that multi-location customer who probably has been I hate to say that, I want to seed it, but maybe they've been a little bit abused by AT&T, a little bit neglected by Verizon. Maybe somebody else out there just maybe has done a good job from a network quality perspective, but a poor job when it comes to supporting the end user. It's a story I hear quite a bit, and that's why it's top of mind, and I'm sharing it with you. But we love those opportunities to out AT&T. I mean, we love it, because I have many customers where they're like, listen, I can't get a better network than that, in my opinion. So I just need better service. And so we end up being a service company. And so I'll take that single product. I love those opportunities to be like, here's 3 sites. We have 30. Here's 3. Show me what you can do. And then we show and improve their environment. And we're getting things done for our customers in 2 days that it took them 2 weeks to get done. And then they're like, wow, okay, well, you guys respond. This is weird. It's almost like somebody that just didn't even realize. It's like they've been seeing in gray, black and white, gray scale. They've been colorblind to like this new world of 4K UHD. And so now they come into this light and they're like, man, do we do everything perfect, Chris? No, we don't do everything perfect. But every single call, we give a damn. We care about that call that's coming into our organization. And that's one of the things I saw when I flew up to corporate. And that's one of the things that makes me excited about being here is like, we are hungry to do a good job. And when you talk about product mix, if I can kind of keep on rambling here, I think that you mentioned all-in-one, and like that's a column that we have to use to explain and define where we are as a company and what our offering is. But I've been talking to this for every partner that'll listen and every customer that'll listen, that there's another column out there that a lot of people don't know about. And that column is just as important as the product column. And that column is the company culture column. And in fact, if there's no company culture, it doesn't matter what the product list is. Because if you, there was things US Elect didn't do, but the things they did, man, the company culture really drove those products. And that's one of the places that we are claiming. We're putting our stake in the ground saying, we have company culture that grows with our customers. And my value proposition and the customer experience just grows as they add more products, because I get to touch more and show them a difference between the way we're doing it and maybe someone else.
That's a great point that I seldom hear brought up on these many interviews that I do, is the importance of a company culture. Because if you do not have a culture that's truly built around taking care of the customer and taking care of the employees, you can't deliver on your promise a lot of times. There's always a company that will be talking about the greatest whiz bang ever, or JD Power and Associates customer service rankings, but we all know a lot of awards are bought and paid for, right?
Garner has nothing to do.
Yeah.
The Garner, where are you at?
Yeah. We're not. And this podcast just got sued. But anyway, moving on. In all seriousness, though, you see these awards, a lot of them are bought and paid for. If the channel managers or the account managers or even just the regular customer service reps aren't empowered to get things done because they've got a culture that rewards employees for taking care of their customers, then you don't win. And I think that is a hallmark of where Call One is, and something that we hope to see a lot more of with you as our success continues. Speaking of that success, got a couple more questions for you. Tell us a little bit about a recent success story. Our partners always like to hear, what does a Call One customer look like, and where did you make a big impact? Tell us a story about one of those folks.
Sure. It would be an HVAC company that started out with a request for 3 50 meg circuits. And
that's tiny.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, that's not what gets leadership excited necessarily. It's not what, you're like, okay, it's just a pretty run-of-the-mill deal, but thankful, again, it's multi-location, it checks that box. And again, we'll take the bet of, give us a shot and let's grow the business through doing a good job. And so, with that whole mindset that we have, and one of the other things you said, what kind of makes you different than some of the others out there, it was something that I wrote down, which was going beyond the quote. We go beyond the quote. We prefer to go beyond the quote. We are not a group of desk jockeys that, are just shooting quotes out and then I've done my job. No one's buying Call One off of a quote, right? You know, there's other people that they buy off of a quote, but like the reality is there has to be some salesmanship, there has to be some interaction and engagement, right? So like going beyond the quote is kind of one of our hallmarks, and like we're built and positioned, and we've hired the type of resources that you want to put in front of your customer. So in the specific one I'm giving you, part of the case study is how they engage me, which was, hey, here's 3 sites for 50 meg fiber. I find out, man, these guys are right around the corner from me. Reach out to the partner. I'm like, hey, would you mind if I, just came by and chatted with them for a little bit? Would that be okay? And, I built some relationships, obviously, with this partner in times past. I said, sure, John, anything you touch comes back better than it was when we handed it to you. So my sales engineer and I went and met with them and just wanted to sit there and understand a couple things, which is we have a sales methodology that we follow each and every time. So it's a consistent process, and that we don't miss anything. And it's simply our sales methodology is discover, design, deliver. We take the discovery phase very important. We want to look under the rocks, and so I don't look personally at a 3-site deal with 50 megs per site as, well, that's everything in there. There can't be anything else on the truck. Like, that's got to be everything the customer has, right? That's all they need. And the truth is all of us get into the habit of just giving somebody what they ask for versus taking that extra minute and looking under a rock and asking the questions that help lead to a better solution design. So we got there and we started talking to them, and lo and behold, we have 30 sites. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. That's great. Right. And then we're connected to another group that has 300 sites. I'm like, oh. So we sat down with the customer, brought my sales engineer with me. And as we were talking to the IT team, we found out that, they don't have just 3 sites, they have 30 sites. And the 30 sites are connected to another 200 sites. So immediately, just by going beyond the quote, we were able to see something that's much, much greater in scope. And by the way, we have short tail everywhere, which we're happy with at this stage. But we'd like to find a carrier that can do similar to what AT&T is doing, right? Because we would like to get voice and connectivity from the same place. Oh, well, that's absolutely something we do. So we talked to them about that, and then it started going into, well, what else do you need help with, right? And this is the traditional all-in-one sandbox. What else do you guys need help with? Well, we have Comcast, we got Spectrum, and we got all these different, broadband connections. It'd just be easier to have one. Okay, John, actually, we've got this new site. Let's just give everything to you at this new site and see how you perform, right? So now we went from just something that was a 3-site quote, which we're happy to do, knowing about growing the business, and it moved into this full solution where, every location, at the end of the story, every location got 100 megs because our 100 meg pricing was less expensive than the 50 meg pricing that they were getting. And then it was 10 SIP trunks everywhere, and it was 4G everywhere, and it was broadband everywhere, and it was SD-WAN, just bandwidth optimization level SD-WAN, not full next-gen firewall, because, hey, we've got our own security team. We don't need that. We got watchguards. Okay, great. Right. And obviously I'd give homage and pay homage to the partner that brought me in. I mean, we're not newbies. So I'm like, is this something you guys want to keep doing? And like, I'm talking to you first. And they're like, we don't care if we do the security. It's a pain in the butt to us. So, do whatever you want to do. I'm like, all right. So we sit back, we go through the process, new site install, another new site install, a couple sites. Now we're up to 6 sites, and they bring us back in. You guys did exactly what you said you were going to do. And guess what? Here are the remaining 24 locations for our organization. And by the way, we are tired of managing our firewalls. We want to go full next-gen firewall on the Versa platform with you guys. Huge, huge win, right? High fives. It was a very large project that we just completed out. And I was sitting back with the customer last week. We were sitting down and having lunch together. And they're like, man, do you know anybody that can support our short tail? And I'm like, funny story is that, Call One, we used to sell short tail. We were one of the largest short tail dealers in the nation. And so, we know all about the short tail product. I mean, I'm not here to really support that for you, but if we could answer some questions and we're getting on these calls and you guys know more than our engineers, the companies that are supporting us today, more than they do about supporting our existing phone system. And then I'm like, well, we have everything already. You guys want to take a look at UCAS? And they're like, well, yes, we do. So, I can't sell these guys anything else. I've told them everything I have.
That's a great story because one thing I want the partners to take away from that is this is an opportunity that was brought to you with one element, and then over time, your team working in conjunction with the partner, not without the partner, but in conjunction with the partner, grew the account to owning it all. And that is the hallmark of a fantastic one-on-one carrier. And that's why we're so super stoked to have Call One as part of the CNSG App Smart portfolio. So this has been a great interview, John. We've had a good time. However, you have asked me to ask you a particular question. So I've got to offer that as a disclaimer. So this is the opportunity for this call to either end on an exceptionally high note or be a complete disaster. So it's all on you, John. Here we go. So, John,
okay, I love it.
I've been told that you can walk on your hands. So, one, can you? And two, why is that relevant to our conversation today?
Let's take care of the first part.
Oh, my dear Lord. For those that are watching or listening to the audio version, yes, John Mclain can absolutely walk in his hands. He's definitely got the polo on and shorts underneath. Wow. Okay, John.
Well, you got to see it all. Thankfully,
all right,
I had
John,
shorts.
why was that relevant to this conversation?
Because we, as Call One, can do things that others can't.
Fantastic. Well, John, thanks so much for being a guest on the Zoom this week. That was a heck of a way to end the show. I can't top that with anything else. So for all of you listening and watching this week, we'll see you next time on the Zoom. And please make sure to check out John and the gang at Call One. Thanks again.